Title: I peeked at the alien mercenary undressing now she says I claimed her. The service tunnel above Helium 9 was narrow, dark, and dusty. Pipes ran along the ceiling. Cables crossed overhead, and small lights flickered every few meters. Mark had never been inside these tunnels before. He usually worked in clean workshops where things were organized and labeled. But here everything looked forgotten, as if no one had walked through in years. Rika, however, moved with confidence. She walked behind Mark, guiding him with a steady voice. Step on the metal plates. She said quietly, not the thin pipes. They will break. Mark nodded and followed her instructions. He felt safer knowing she was close, even though danger surrounded them. Behind them, faint echoes of angry voices bounced through the lower halls. The pirates knew Mark and Rika had escaped. They were searching the station inch by inch. Mark nervously wiped sweat from his forehead. Rika, how many pirates do you think are on the station now? She answered without hesitation. More than 20, maybe 30. Mark swallowed hard. Can we fight that many? She looked at him, her expression steady and confident. We are not going to fight all of them, she said. We are going to stop their plans. That is different. Mark nodded slowly. He trusted her more than he trusted anyone else at this moment. Her calmness helped him breathe easier. But the truth remained. There were 2 people against a group of armed invaders. After walking for several minutes, they reached a hatch. Rika opened it slightly and looked down. Below them was a wide corridor leading to the security center, the most important room on the station. This is our path, she whispered. But the guard's signals are gone. Pirates must have taken control. Mark felt another wave of fear. What about the station security robots? He asked. Disabled. She replied. Pirates know how to shut them down. Only manual defense remains. Mark sighed. So it's just us. Yes, Rika said softly. But we have something they do not. What? She touched her chest armor gently. Purpose. Mark looked at her. It was a simple word, but the way she said it carried meaning. Rika had spent years fighting battles for credits, protecting people she didn't know, following contracts. But this time, she wasn't fighting for money or orders. She was fighting for him. And for the station. They climbed down the ladder quietly. Mark tried his best to move silently, but his boots scraped against the metal. Rika observed every sound, every shadow. When they reached the floor, she motioned him to stay close. The corridor was empty, but the lights flickered weakly. Mark knew the pirates were messing with the power grid. If they gained full control, they could trap hundreds of people. Where's the security center? Rika asked. Mark pointed around the corner. Down that way. Big double doors. The main panel is inside. Good, she said. They took slow steps forward. Mark could feel the tension rising like a thick fog. When they turned the corner, they stopped instantly. 4 pirates stood guard outside the security center doors. They were armed with stun rods and shock shields. Their armor thick and intimidating. Mark whispered, we can't get past them. Rika looked at the door, then at the wall beside it. Yes, we can, she said softly. There's another way inside. Mark raised a brow. What way? She pointed toward a high vent above the security door. Mark stared at it. You want me to go through that? Yes, she said. You are small enough. Mark looked at his arms, then at the vent, then back at her. This is the first time in my life I'm glad to be small, he muttered. Rika gave a small smile, one of the rare ones she ever showed. You are not small, she said gently. You are simply human-sized. Before Mark could reply, Rika lifted him with ease and pushed him toward the vent opening. Be careful, she whispered. Once inside, unlock the door from the control panel. Mark nodded, his heart pounding. And Rika, she looked up at him. Don't let them catch you while I'm inside. Her eyes softened. I will not leave you, she promised. Mark crawled through the tight vent. It was dusty, dark, and narrow, but he pushed forward. He could hear the pirates outside talking in rough voices, unaware he was above them. When he reached the other end of the vent, he looked down. The security center was empty, clearly taken over already, but the main control panel was still active. He quietly pushed the vent cover open and dropped into the room with a soft thud. He hurried to the panel and connected the wires using the skills he knew well. The screen lit up with secure access. Warnings, come on, come on, he whispered as he typed commands. Outside, he suddenly heard shouting. Rika's voice. She had been discovered. Mark's hands shook. But he kept working. The door lock beeped out, unlocked out. He ran to the door and opened it. What he saw made his heart freeze. Rika was fighting all for pirates alone. She didn't use weapons, only her strength, speed, and training. She blocked a strike from a stun rod, pushed another pirate back, dodged a shield swing, and spun around with perfect control. But for attackers at once were difficult, even for her. One pirate managed to hit her arm with a shock rod, and she fell to one knee. Rika, Mark shouted. She lifted her head the moment she heard his voice. Her eyes burned with determination. She stood again. The pirates turned to look at Mark, and that tiny distraction was all Rika needed. She stepped forward, grabbed the nearest pirate's shield, and yanked it away. Then she used it to block a rod strike, pushed her attacker back, swept another pirate off his feet, and kicked the last one aside. Within seconds, all four pirates were on the ground, disarmed but still conscious. Rika walked toward Mark, breathing heavily but steady. You unlocked it, she said softly. Yes, he said, catching his breath. But we're not done. The main system is still under their control. Then we take it back, Rika replied. Mark nodded. Let's do it. Inside the security center, Mark rushed to the main terminal. He plugged wires together and entered commands. Warning messages flooded the screen. Pirate network override active. Hostage protocol preparing. Lockdown level for in progress. Mark's heart raced. They're trying to seal the entire station, he said. No air, no escape routes. It's a trap. Rika stood behind him, watching the doorway, ready for another fight. Can you stop it? She asked calmly. I can try, Mark replied, typing faster. He opened system menus, shut down unauthorized commands, and rewired safety limits. But the pirates' hacking tools were advanced. They had taken almost complete control. Rika, he said, panic rising in his voice, they're faster than me. I need more time. Rika placed a gentle but firm hand on his shoulder. You will have time. She said, I will make sure of it. He looked at her. Her face was calm, but her eyes were fierce. For a moment, Mark forgot the danger. He only saw how deeply she cared. He whispered, I'm glad you're here. Rika's expression softened in a way he rarely saw. I am glad you claimed me, she said quietly. Mark opened his mouth to correct her again, but this time, the words didn't come. Instead, he smiled. And then he returned to work. Footsteps echoed in the distance. More pirates, coming their way. Rika readied herself. Mark typed until his fingers hurt. Finally, access restored. Hostage protocol disabled. Pirate network disconnected. It worked, Mark shouted. We have control again. Rika looked proud. Well done. But before they could celebrate, the door shook. The pirates were trying to break in. Rika, she stepped in front of him again. I will protect you, she said simply. Mark looked at her, the warrior who had stood by him every second since their strange meeting. And he realized something. He would stand by her too. He grabbed a metal pipe from the floor, not as a weapon, but as a tool to block the door. I'm not letting you fight alone, he said firmly. Rika blinked, surprised. Then she smiled softly. Then we stand together. The door creaked under pressure. Voices shouted from outside. More danger was coming. But for the first time, Mark wasn't afraid, because he wasn't alone. He had Rika, and together they were ready. The next morning on Helion 9 felt different. The station usually hummed with the same slow rhythm, cargo doors opening, traders bargaining, service bots rolling down the hallways. But today, the air felt heavy, like the station itself was holding its breath. Mark felt it the moment he stepped out of his small living quarters. And Rika felt it too. She stood outside his door before he even opened it, her eyes sharp and watchful. You sense it? She asked quietly. Yes, Mark admitted. Something feels wrong. Danger moves in shadows before it walks in light, she said calmly. We must be alert. Her words were simple. but the seriousness behind them made Mark's heart beat faster. The Drift pirates hadn't returned yet, but Mark was sure they would. They weren't the type to forget or forgive quickly, and they clearly believed he had something important, something they wanted badly. But what scared Mark most was this: he had no idea what the device even did. Mark and Rika walked to the repair bay. Usually, customers waited outside early in the morning, ready to hand him damaged items. But today, the hallway near his shop was empty to empty. Rika stopped suddenly and raised her hand. "Stay behind me." Mark obeyed without argument. She scanned the hall, her eyes narrowing with each second. Then she said something Mark didn't expect. "They are testing the area." Mark frowned. "Testing?" "Yes," Rika said. "Checking cameras, studying guards, watching who walks where. It is the behavior of someone preparing for something bigger." Mark felt his stomach twist. "Bigger? Like what?" "Like taking hostages," she replied softly, "or capturing a whole section of the station." Mark's face turned pale. Rika turned to him, her eyes gentle but firm. "I will not let anything happen to you." He nodded, trusting her more than he trusted anyone else. Inside the repair bay, the silence felt strange. Machines hummed, screens blinked, but the usual voices and footsteps were missing. Mark tried to focus on work. He opened toolboxes, checked wires, cleaned parts. Rika walked the perimeter of the shop like a silent guard, every movement controlled and precise. Around midday, the station lights flickered once, twice, then returned to normal. Mark froze. What was that? Rika's hand went instantly to the small control panel on her wrist. She checked several readings, her eyes moving quickly. They are already inside the main power lines. She said, "Someone is trying to control the station's systems. Can we stop it?" Rika shook her head slightly. "Not without access to the security center. But they will not shut everything down yet. They are waiting for something." "What?" "For people to relax," she said. "Then they will strike." Mark's hands trembled. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't a hero. He fixed machines and cleaned circuits, and yet, somehow, he had become part of something dangerous. An hour later, the first sign came. A station-wide announcement echoed through the speakers. "All personnel, please stay calm. A small technical issue has been detected in Section C. Engineers are working on it." Mark looked at Rika immediately. "That announcement, it's fake, isn't it?" "Yes," Rika said. "There's no engineer in Section C right now." "How do you know?" She tapped her wrist panel again. "Because I scanned for life signals. That entire section is empty." Mark felt the first real blast of fear hit his chest. "Rika, what do they want?" She turned toward him with a serious expression. "They want the device that passed through your hands," she said. "And they believe you know where it is. But I don't know." Mark said helplessly, "I know," Rika said gently. "But they will not believe that." Before Mark could answer, he heard heavy footsteps in the hallway, many footsteps. Not small, not light. They sounded organized, marching in formation. Rika stepped in front of him immediately. "Stay behind me." The footsteps grew louder. Then the repair bay door slid open. A group of pirates entered, 12 of them, wearing dark armor and holding electronic restraints. Their leader, the same one who threatened Mark earlier, stood at the front. He pointed at Mark. "There he is." Rika moved instantly, blocking their view. "You will not take him," she said calmly. The pirate leader grinned. "We don't want him yet. First, we take the station." He snapped his fingers. 2 pirates rushed toward the wall and placed devices on the control panels. Within seconds, the bay door locked itself and the emergency lights turned red. The leader smiled cruelly. "Now no one gets in or out." Mark's heart raced. Rika shifted her stance, ready to fight. "You do not need this battle," she said. "Leave now, or what?" The leader taunted. "You'll fight all of us?" Rika didn't answer. She simply took a step forward, her eyes burning like gold fire. That was answer enough. The pirates charged. Rika moved like lightning. One step, one turn, one strike. She disarmed the first pirate before he could blink. She pushed the second one aside with a firm shoulder, knocking him over a table. A third pirate tried to grab her from behind, but she caught his arm, and gently but powerfully threw him into a pile of crates. Mark watched in awe. She wasn't using weapons. She wasn't hurting them seriously. She was simply blocking them, redirecting them, disabling them. She moved like she had done this 1,000 times, but there were too many. 12 was a lot. One pirate managed to slip past her and reach for Mark. Mark froze. Unable to move, the pirate grabbed Mark's arm, but before he could do anything else, Rika appeared between them and pulled the pirate away with one swift movement. Her voice was calm but powerful. No one touches him. The pirates backed away slightly, fear now mixing with anger. The leader raised a small communicator. "That is enough," he said, breathing hard. "Lock Section B. Cut power to the central corridor. Activate hostage protocol." He pressed a button. Alarms across the station blared. Red lights flashed. Doors sealed. Power flickered. The pirates were taking control. Mark's voice shook. "Rika, what do we do?" Rika grabbed his wrist gently. "We escape this room. We get to the upper maintenance tunnels. From there, we can reach the security center. But the doors are locked." She lifted her wrist panel. "I will open them. But how?" She gave a small smile. "My clan designs their own technology. I know how to override pirate locks." Before she could continue, the pirates advanced again. "We don't need the whole station," the leader growled. "We just need him." Rika stepped in front of Mark once more. "You will not pass. Then we'll force our way through." Rika looked over her shoulder at Mark. "When I say run, you run. Understand?" Mark swallowed hard. "Yes." "Good." The pirates rushed again, and Rika struck the floor with her armored boot. A shockwave of energy burst outward, pushing the pirates back in a wide circle. They stumbled, lost balance, and crashed into walls and equipment. "Run." Rika ordered. Mark obeyed. They sprinted through the repair bay, Rika using her wrist panel to force the door open. The hallway outside filled with flashing red lights and echoing alarms. They ran. Mark's lungs burned. Rika stayed beside him, shielding him from every direction. On the far end of the corridor, a group of pirates spotted them. "There they are." Mark shouted. "Rika, we're trapped." "No," she said firmly. "We go up." She pointed to a maintenance ladder hidden behind a panel. Before Mark could protest, Rika lifted the panel with one hand and motioned him forward. "Climb. I will stay below you." Mark climbed as fast as he could. Rika followed, sealing the panel behind them just as the pirates reached the hallway. Above them was a dark service tunnel stretching across the station. Mark breathed hard. "What now?" Rika looked at him gently, placing a steady hand on his shoulder. "Now," she said, "we fight for everyone on this station, and we end this." Mark stared at her. This wasn't just about him anymore. The pirates wanted control. They wanted power, and only Rika stood between them and the entire station. Mark wasn't strong like her. He didn't have armor or training, but he had something else, knowledge of the station's systems. "I can help," he said quietly. Rika nodded slowly. "I know," she replied. "And that is why we will win, side by side." They stepped into the shadows of the service tunnel, not knowing the hardest fight was still ahead. Title: I peeked at the alien mercenary undressing. Now she says I claimed her. Rika stood outside Mark's repair bay as if she had always belonged there. Her tall figure, strong armor, and steady presence created a strange contrast with Mark's quiet tools and humming machines. Every worker who passed by slowed down, stared a little too long, and then hurried away before Rika's golden eyes met theirs. Mark tried to pretend everything was normal. He wiped a metal panel, sorted tools, arranged wires, anything to keep his mind busy. But Rika's presence was impossible to ignore. She didn't speak at first. She just watched him. Not in a rude way, not in a judging way, more like she was studying him, trying to understand how a simple human engineer lived. Finally, Mark cleared his throat and walked toward her. "Rika," he said, "you don't have to stand there all day. You must be tired." She shook her head. "My duty is to watch over you. Fatigue means nothing." Mark sighed. "It still feels wrong. You shouldn't have to protect me. I didn't do anything to earn that." "You witnessed my armor removal," she said calmly. "That alone is enough." but it was an accident. In my culture, she replied, accidents can be destiny. Mark rubbed his eyes. He still didn't understand how his simple mistake turned into this ancient tradition. He didn't even understand her species well. He knew they were strong warriors, respected across many systems, mercenaries, bodyguards, peacekeepers, explorers. But their customs were old and serious, much older than any human traditions. Still, despite everything, Rika did not seem upset. If anything, she looked lighter, as if having someone to stand beside gave her purpose. Okay, Mark said gently. If you're going to guard me, at least come inside. You don't need to block the whole hallway. People think you're about to fight someone. Rika blinked and gave a small nod. She stepped inside the repair bay and stood in a corner, her hands behind her back. Posture straight like a trained soldier, Mark tried to work again. But every time he reached for a tool, Rika was already holding it out for him. Every time he lifted something heavy, she lifted it with one hand effortlessly. Every time he bent down to pick up a drop bolt, she picked it up faster. Mark appreciated the help, but after the 10th time, he finally spoke. You don't need to do everything for me, he said with a soft laugh. You're supposed to protect me, not do my whole job. Rika tilted her head. I cannot stand idle. She said, it goes against my training. Then help me in small ways, Mark suggested gently. You don't have to lift everything. She looked at the toolbox, then back at Mark. What is considered a small way for a human? She asked sincerely. Mark smiled a little despite his nerves. Well, passing tools, holding lights, giving me a hand when I ask, things like that. Rika nodded, as if memorizing new rules. I will follow your instructions. For a moment, Mark saw something new in her eyes, not just strength, but uncertainty. She was a warrior used to battlefields, not repair shops. Maybe she didn't know how to act when not fighting. Maybe she was lonely. The station grew busier as morning turned to afternoon. Miners walked in with broken drills, freighters with damaged guidance pads, traders with cracked battery plates. Mark moved from job to job with his usual calm focus. But this time, Rika followed him everywhere. If a stranger came too close, she stepped between them. If a customer raised their voice, she stared until they spoke softly. If someone made a rude remark about humans, she glared so intensely that they apologized immediately. Mark lost count of how many times he whispered, Rika, it's okay, they're not dangerous. But Rika believed every small disturbance was a possible threat. Her species had survived many wars. Their instincts were sharp, their loyalty even sharper. At lunchtime, Mark sat at a corner table, eating a simple meal: bread, fruit slices, and a warm drink. Rika stood beside him like a silent statue. Do you want something to eat? Mark asked awkwardly. She shook her head. My kind eats differently. I will take my nutrients later. You don't have to stand while I eat, he said. Unsure if he should laugh or feel worried. You can sit. Rika looked at the chair as if it was a strange tool she had never used before. Then she carefully sat down straight back, feet firmly planted. Posture perfect. Mark tried not to smile. She really didn't know how to relax. Rika, he said gently. You don't have to be so strict around me. I'm not your commander. You're the claimed one. She corrected simply. Mark nearly choked on his bread. Please stop saying that, he said with a small groan. People will misunderstand. Rika blinked. But misunderstandings are normal during claims, not human claims, Mark said quickly. She tilted her head. Humans have a different tradition. Yes, Mark said, rubbing his face. A very different one. What do humans call it when someone stands by your side because fate brought you together? Mark opened his mouth and then closed it. How could he explain friendship, or partnership, or loyalty? He finally said, we call it being friends, or maybe allies. Rika repeated the words slowly, as if trying to understand each sound of friends. She said softly, allies. Something warm flickered in her eyes. I would like that. She added quietly. Mark felt his chest soften. Maybe this was not such a disaster after all. But peace never lasted long on Helion 9. Late in the afternoon, A group of rough-looking aliens entered the repair bay. They were tall, with long arms and sharp, bony ridges along their heads. They wore dark clothing with metal plates, and their boots made loud, heavy sounds on the floor. Mark recognized their type drift pirates, known for illegal trading and causing trouble wherever they went. They walked straight toward Mark's workstation. "You," their leader said, pointing at him with a long finger. "You fixed a device earlier this week. A small black one." "Where is it?" Mark blinked. "I repair many devices. You have to be more specific." The pirate stepped forward, towering over him. "It belonged to us. The man you gave it back to stole from us. We need that device." Mark felt a chill run down his spine. "I only fix things," he said calmly. "I don't get involved in who they belong to. I don't have anything." But the pirates were not listening. One of them reached out and grabbed Mark's shoulder. He didn't get to finish pulling, because Rika appeared behind Mark like a silent storm. Her hand closed around the pirate's wrist, firm but not violent. "Remove your hand," she said quietly. The pirate laughed. "And who are you?" "His pet guard." Rika's eyes narrowed. "I am Rika of Clan Varkish," she said calmly, "and this human is under my protection." The pirates paused. Everyone in the galaxy knew her clan. Even the bravest fighters thought twice before angering a Varkish warrior. The leader glared at Mark. "This isn't over. That device is ours. If we find out he lied to us, you will not touch him," Rika said sharply. The pirates stepped back slowly, anger and fear mixed in their eyes. Then they turned and left the bay, their footsteps echoing down the corridor. Mark exhaled shakily. "Thanks," he said quietly, "but please don't start a fight." Rika looked at him with a calm expression. "I did not start one," she said. "I ended one." That evening, Mark closed the repair bay earlier than usual. He felt tired not from work, but from stress. The pirate's behavior made him uneasy. Rika walked beside him down the hallway. "They will return," she said. Mark swallowed. "I know." "Do not fear," she said softly. "I will protect you." He looked up at her. For the first time, he noticed something behind her strength, a loneliness she carried for years, hidden under armor and duty. Maybe she needed this bond as much as he now needed her protection. Mark took a deep breath. "Rika," he said gently, "you don't have to guard me because of some tradition. You can stay because you want to." Rika slowed down. Her golden eyes softened. Her voice lowered. Her words carried quiet emotion. "I choose to stay," she said. And for the first time since their strange meeting, Mark felt calm. But far away in the shadows of Helion 9, the pirates were planning something larger, something dangerous, and Mark and Rika had no idea what was coming.